evening. My name's Alan Gillis, and I'm here to give a big shout out to Peter Fallon and the team at Gallery Press to say happy 50th birthday and many thanks for everything you've done for Irish poetry over the years. This is a poem by Derek Mann. How should I not be glad to contemplate the clouds clearing beyond the dormer window and a high tide reflected on the ceiling? There will be dying, there will be dying, but there is no need to go into that. The poems flow from the hand unbidden, and the hidden source is the watchful heart. The sun rises in spite of everything, and the far cities are beautiful and bright. I lie here in a riot of sunlight, watching the day break and the clouds flying. Everything is going to be all right. And I'll also just read for you an effort of my own. I'm here in Edinburgh. It's actually the 31st of July, so tomorrow morning, start of August. No festival this year. This is called August in Edinburgh. Not a cloud in the sky, and it's raining. It's the brusqueness of things and the drag of things that hurts. The most beautiful woman in the world is in Edinburgh at the festival. She looks me in the eye and says, "Please move. I'm trying to look at the artworks." My doctor says the heart works, but don't push it. I hear music, long familiar songs everywhere I go. Pain is in the mind, says someone tells Leonardo DiCaprio in Shutter Island. Everyone is rushing, but the crowd moves slow. Leonardo can't get his head around it. A man in costume shouts, "We've sold out here," holding his hat out for money and rain. The mind is an island, and everyone is beautiful, looking for something new again. But nothing connects, and it's cold. My son sticks my phone charger in his ear and says, "I've got an electric brain." I've been streaming old LPs I never thought I'd hear again. Never thinking the old songs would not work. Trying not to work the brain. Trying not to rise to the bait when that long, familiar voice rises from the damp and dismal crowd once again to say, "Hey, if we all think hard enough, maybe we can stop this rain." Thank you very much.
Declensions. A man straddles the 3D watery space between a hard pier and a shifting thwart as he stows cases for transport. And he stows the thole pins, the oars, the solid gunnels, the laths, the Ailbhe trail of stitching on the sail's hem in the tarred hull of a vessel sustaining them. Like a curragh being hauled by craftsmen over a rough sea, language sinks into a trough and peaks again miraculously, a tiny black boat diminishing on the wide sea of story with words for weather, for seaweed, for stone chat, for flotsam. While the men are away, a woman walks to the end of her house with dregs in his ink basin. She launches a ragged line of spray into space. Before it vanishes in the grass, she imagines the flexing cast of her husband's seed in their early years. Her diviner's arms relax. For an instant she holds a wide ring in her lap, like Sheila na gig, grasping the lids of the eye of the storm, where seas pile up and seasoned men are overwhelmed as they ride the waters for a word they wanted from her. A local surfer rides ashore on the churning rim of a wave and steps down into the foam to hoist his gliding board under his arm. There's that dizzy space as the water slides back between his toes, and the whole island takes some time to compose itself. A deserted stretch of beach with its maram hairpiece, a slaty sky and a sharp bouquet of sea holly. Now here's our suited rider with his stride thrashing through the dry sand, and his bright board with its fin, as Arion survives the drowning sea and carries home the dolphin. Now I'll also read a more recent poem that's set in West Limerick, where I used to spend time as a lad at my aunt's house, at my Aunt May's house. And this is very much a summer poem. Staying at May's was about being in the countryside, coming from the city, and having the adventures of the summer season around the farm and along the river. Swallows. Traffic of swallows over cow dung in May's yard. The low, dark arrows turned up every summer to a nest in the timbers of the byre, where they gossiped high in gossamer. There was a gap at the door where they got in, which I blocked against their orbiting. Then I swung an empty canvas sack until I brought one down to floor level. I grabbed it, but my hands had more than I could grasp. The fins of a windworker gathered at the shoulder, eye gleam on ochre. They are seeds of knowing overcome by me. The air was oppressive in that outhouse, so I went out to the light and set the wings free. And because I had spent a lot of time in West Limerick as a young lad, I felt a special affinity with Michael Hartnett's project when Michael moved to West Limerick to Temple Glanton as part of his Farewell to English, where he set out to write only in Irish. And when I went up to the back of my aunt's house onto the hill, I could look across towards that part, towards Michael Hartnett's part of County Limerick. So this is one of the poems that Michael wrote as an outcome of his project. This is from Muinke Drolini, The Necklace of Wrens, published by Gallery Press in 1978. The Vihol o Ghearbhuigh Fille. I my bhuachal óg fadó, daim sias nead. Bhí na gearcaí clúfa fásta is iad ag scrad. Dairig siad is hurling a rís ar mocht, ormsa bhí muinke clúibh sa bhaine ar fluch. Níor dhuine mé ná géag crín nach cairn cloch, ach bhí úntas crua ná bhráisiad ag bula faoi mocht. Bin an lá ar hurling caird a éilíonn ó mós. Is dá gan ingine farba orm ná laisú fós.
Déabhúr maithasa is mise Ailbhe Ghearbhuigh agus bhailim an leachéad a chréaslú le muintir Gallery Press. Over the last 50 years, Gallery Press have published really an astonishing array of poets and playwrights and thinkers. So it was very difficult to choose just one poem by one poet for this occasion. But in the end, I went with a poem by Liam O'Murhile, Gynenidi Trocra Ed, from his 1992 collection, Díal an Bóthar. An Bóthar Siar Glas. Dásan de a fohanna an Móthar Siar Glas. Is gach crown, town aun, buin siasavach a naig an ró. Hínach na géaga tréanna leis an déagar céanna go lehan de cheharúna ó chaul is mé ar sile lo. Bheith an dilúr sa téasúr cho hamadúil led chréavolt, is gach dlí ag lí go dlú ó bhaithis chaiseach go caum. Dórdóch na homaní muirge ar thuair solis agus cuiche, mar gluisin de chorp in ag gréine le cuair na haun. Dhéan hin dearcáin den chrí an móthir siar glas. Is gach trá síl vinnig tnú le titim fed bhráid. Far hin 2,000 blian mar chnó de chnósach cuile, nu dá ligfá dom prévú, fécin I de rá láimh. It's a tough act to follow, Liam. I'm going to continue with 2 poems from my own collection, The Coast Road. And I suppose I was fortunate enough to have a whole host of gallery poets translate a selection of my poems for that collection. It came out at the end of 2016. This is a poem about my hometown and about Tom Waits and Kathleen Brennan, who spent their honeymoon in Tralee long before I was born, I suspect. Tom Waits I Tralee. Mí lúnasa bhí na mala, dan sé hain sa rá geal, I digging beag I Tralee. Brálíní lapan ag trimú leistír. Leistig hí na leanáin crumtha honnéid díomhare a chuma. Las mo hí ail vadrí is an ghrian ag dal faoi. Bhí préacháin línta telefóin ag taireh rósanna. Rírá leanaí ag mualú áit éigent. Dadig sé an tine, is bhardan gríosach isteach saníthe. This is translated by John McAuliffe. Tom Waits comes to Tralee. On honeymoon in August, he and his new love set up in a cottage in Tralee. The bed linen was drying out the back, and inside the lovers were bent over the making of a dark sonnet. Farther off, dogs in heat, the sun going down, crows on telephone lines dreaming of roses, and the ruckus of kids like the echo of another world. He stoked the fire so it glimmered long into the night. This is a Galway poem next. I spent a lot of time in Galway. It was very difficult to leave. And this is a poem about leaving a place you love, a place you had lots of fun, and it never quite being the same when you return. X. Bahú ma leanán trá a ghailibh, fóg de bháisteach mo ghanúis, chimil de scríab mo chulin is de luch. Da haníos me héine de chud sráidine, os cóir tí nachtan tránúnta techna chatte. Medica a basráid Yamanik, uachtarach gus íachtarach, strip club, café Christí, club áras na gael. Tá me tachtchút sa nacht go haurasach an dúil víltach úd tráite a chadváilte. Belamhú úr a bháin a chailibh, nach fuair an fille bhailin a daibh sí, is na chat. It's translated by Vona Rourke. X. Galway, yeah, my lover of old, I remember you. Rain slobbering on my face, giddy winds all over me. See me there in my young day at the cross of Teenachtan and Technicolor, where Dominic Street was America, a strip club wedged between the Christian Cafe and Club Áras na Gael. There I was, and will be again, making sense, or trying to, of the heart in the mouth, the tongue ablaze, all those promises. Galway, it was years ago. It's a cold return, it always is, to a town with nothing to show for itself but wet-faced, wind-stripped ghosts. Sinna bhfuil uaimse go mar sibh an céad Gallery Press.